The chandelier light trembled on the crystal. Christmas Eve at the Langley estate was never a dinner. It was a performance. Every plate shone, every laugh rehearsed. I sat near the end of the table, close enough to feel the heat from the fire, far enough to stay invisible. Arthur Langley Sr., Grandpa to me, Mr. Langley to everyone else lifted his glass. His silver cufflinks caught the light. To family, he said warmly, his voice steady as oak, and to Eliza. Every head turned. Forks hovered mid-air. He smiled across the table at me, eyes soft and proud. Do you like the house I bought you? For a beat, I thought I'd misheard. The words landed like ice on porcelain. What house I asked, trying to sound amused, but my voice thinned halfway through. Mother Vivian froze, her smile curdling at the edges. Wine shimmered against the rim of her glass. Father's knife scraped his plate once, slow and deliberate. Arthur's brow lifted. Crescent Hill, he said, as if reminding me of a secret between us. 18 Crescent Hill Drive. It suits you, doesn't it? The air changed. No one moved. My heartbeat filled the silence. Vivian spoke first, too lightly. Arthur, let's not talk business at dinner. He frowned, puzzled. Business. It's a gift. I thought Eliza had already moved in. Her hand trembled. Red wine spilled over her fingers, staining the white cloth like blood on snow. Father's voice came low, warning. Dad, perhaps this isn't the time. Arthur set down his glass, the crystal clicking against the wood. Then when is the time? His tone sharpened. I wired the funds 18 months ago. Charles, you said the deed was finalized. I looked between them, my pulse pounding. Deed. Finalized. Vivian's smile fractured. Arthur, please. There's been a misunderstanding. He turned to me. You didn't get the keys. I shook my head slowly. No. Grandpa. I don't have a house. The words seemed to drain the color from his face. Across the table, Father exhaled through his nose, eyes narrowing. We can explain later. Arthur's voice lowered. Explain now. No one spoke. Only the faint ticking of the grandfather clock filled the silence, marking the exact second the illusion of family cracked. Arthur pushed back his chair. The sound carved through the room like a blade. Then show me the deed, he said. Vivian's lip quivered. Arthur, it's Christmas Eve. Yes, he said softly. And tonight? I'd like the truth on the table. 2 weeks before that dinner, life was quiet in my Somerville apartment, too quiet. The radiator rattled like it was working through a grudge. I spent evenings hunched over my laptop, chasing invoices and half-heartedly eating instant noodles. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Mom called every few days, her voice always bright and sharp. Eliza, are you still freelancing? Yes. A pause. You know, independence builds character, but stability builds respect. I'm doing fine. You should come home for Christmas, she said. Your father's colleagues will be there. It would be nice for them to see you, settled. I could almost hear her smile. The kind that meant behave. Look grateful. I'll be there, I said, though I wasn't sure why. After the call, I scrolled through their social feed photos from Aspen, champagne on terraces, captions about gratitude. Beneath one, Dad had written, "Family is everything." I turned off my phone before the screen burned that lie into my eyes. Grandpa Arthur was the only reason I kept answering their invitations. He called once a month, his tone patient, steady. You're working hard trying to... I like that you stand on your own feet, he said. When your grandmother was alive, we built everything from nothing. You remind me of her. It wasn't just praise. It felt like permission to exist outside their expectations. That same week, I ran into an old family friend at a cafe, Mr. Dwyer, one of Dad's business partners. He looked surprised to see me. Eliza, I heard you finally moved into the house on Crescent Hill. Your grandfather was thrilled. My heart jolted. What house? He blinked. The one Arthur mentioned last year. Said it was perfect for your light. Congratulations. I forced a smile. Oh, yes. Still settling in. When he left, I sat staring at my untouched coffee, pulse hammering. The phrase "your light" echoed in my head. Grandpa had said the same thing once, years ago, when he showed me a photo of a small white house framed by birch trees. That night, I couldn't shake the feeling that something big had been rewritten without me. 3 nights later, I was at my desk when the notification pinged. Subject: congratulations on the completed sale of 18 Crescent Hill Drive. At first, I thought it was junk mail. Then I saw the name Arthur Langley in the correspondence trail. My stomach went tight. I opened the message. It congratulated me on the successful closing and fund transfer. Buyer details, seller details. My name nowhere in sight, only my father's. I called Mom. She answered on the second ring. Her tone, sweet and practiced. Eliza, you're up late. I got an email about a house. Crescent Hill Drive. What is that? A pause. Too long. Then, oh, that old thing. Your grandfather considered buying it once. Years ago. The market fell through. That's odd. The email said it was sold. Recently. Eliza, you shouldn't open things that aren't meant for you. Those business messages get mixed up sometimes, so it's not ours. Her breath hitched. Not everything you see online is true. I didn't see it online, I said quietly. It came to me. Silence. Then a clipped. You always overthink, before the line went dead. I stared at my phone, the dial tone humming like static under my skin. I forwarded the email to myself, twice, afraid it might vanish. Then I read it again. Property sold 18 months ago. Closing agent Dalton Realty, Lexington. I couldn't sit still. I walked the apartment, pacing between the sink and the window. Outside, rain streaked the glass, the city lights bending and warping behind it. Grandpa had once described a place that matched the address. South-facing windows, he'd said. You'll love the light in winter. My chest ached. I whispered to the empty room. He really did it. But if he did, where had it gone and who decided I didn't deserve to know? I shut the laptop and sat in the dark, the blue glow fading from the screen, the unanswered questions pressing in like walls. By morning, I couldn't pretend it was nothing. I called Dalton Realty, voice steady but my hand shaking against the phone. Hi, I said. I'm researching a recent sale on Crescent Hill Drive. 18. Specifically, the receptionist put me on hold, the soft jazz buzzing through the line. Then a woman picked up cheerful, professional. Yes, that property closed about 18 months ago. Lovely home. Were you interested in something similar? I was curious who owned it before. Let me see. Papers rustled. Sold by a Mr. Charles Langley. Family estate transfer. I believe. My breath caught. Are you sure? Yes, ma'am. Went fast, too. Congratulations to them. I thanked her and hung up. My fingers were numb. Dad had sold it. The house Grandpa thought was mine. I drove across town through sleet, the wipers groaning across the windshield. Grandpa's office sat on the corner of Mount Auburn Street, the same building where he'd run his firm for decades. Inside, the receptionist, Grace Holloway, looked up from her desk, her eyes kind and tired. Eliza, you're early for the holidays. I smiled weakly. Just wanted to drop off a gift for Grandpa. She hesitated before standing. He'll be thrilled. Then, more softly, he's been talking about you. Says he's proud you settled into Crescent Hill. The words struck like a knife. He said that Grace nodded. He loves that house. Always said it was perfect for your light. I tried to keep my voice even. Could I see the file? I'm helping him organize things for tax season. She blinked, conflicted, then reached into a drawer. Just for a second. She laid a manila folder on the counter. My name was printed on the original deed, Eliza Langley, owner. Behind it, stapled neatly, was a second page, a sale agreement bearing my father's signature. Funds transferred to an offshore account I didn't recognize. My throat burned. Grace. Did Grandpa ever see this? Her expression shifted to pity. He believes you've been living there. He even had a welcome basket delivered last spring. I couldn't speak. The sound of rain on the windows filled the silence. Grace lowered her voice. Whatever's happened, he deserves to know. But it should come from you. I nodded, clutching the folder until the edges bent. Thank you. Outside, the cold hit like punishment. I sat in the car, the deed shaking in my lap. For a long time, I couldn't start the engine. They hadn't just taken a house, they'd taken the truth he believed about us. When I finally drove away, snow began to fall, soft and relentless, covering the city in a white that looked clean only from far away. That night, I called Isla. The sound of clinking mugs filled the line. She was still at the cafe near our old campus. You sound wrecked, she said. I found the deed. I whispered. My name was on it. Then behind it, Dad's signature. He sold it. She was quiet for a moment. Your grandfather doesn't know he thinks I live there. He sent a welcome basket. Jesus, Eliza. I pressed my hand to my forehead. They lied to him. They used my name. I don't even know where the money went. You're going to tell him. I can't. It'll crush him. Then make them tell him, she said. At that perfect dinner table they're so proud of. Her words stayed with me long after the call ended. The next morning, I met with Mara Fielder, Grandpa's attorney, in her narrow office overlooking the Charles River. She'd been part of his firm for 20 years. Sharp eyes and sharper instincts. I don't want to drag him through this. I said, I just need to make sure he's protected. Mara folded her hands. You're asking me to prepare for a confrontation. Maybe quietly? She studied me. Do you want me to protect him or expose them? The words hung in the air. I met her gaze. Both. Mara nodded once, already understanding more than I said. I'll review the files and attend the Christmas dinner as a guest. Nothing more. You think they'll deny it? They'll deny until paper touches the table, she said. Outside, the wind bit at my face. I pulled my coat tight, thinking of Grandpa's voice on the phone the week before. He'd said, "This year, I have something special for you." Now I understood what he'd meant, and what they'd stolen. When I got home, a message waited on my phone, his voice, warm and unaware. Can't wait to see you, sweetheart. I'm proud of how you've made a home for yourself. I sat on the edge of the bed, the words cutting deeper than anger could reach. All right, I murmured to the empty room. Christmas dinner. Then, the Langley dining room always felt too polished, like a stage waiting for a script. That night, it glittered with gold light and tension. I sat across from my parents, hands folded in my lap. Vivian talked about a fundraiser, her laughter loud, deliberate. Charles discussed markets and legacies, the kind of talk that filled silence without meaning. Grandpa Arthur sat at the head, smiling, unaware that every word around him was a lie. I caught my mother's gaze. The city's been quiet lately. I said, business, though not as profitable as selling someone else's property. Her fork paused midair. Excuse me, just a thought, I said softly. Arthur chuckled, trying to ease the air. You always did have a sharp tongue. Eliza. Must be the Langley blood. Charles's jaw tightened. Maybe too sharp for her own good. Arthur's eyes moved between us. Curious. Now that reminds me, he said lightly. Eliza, how's the house? 18 Crescent Hill Drive. Does it feel like home yet? The room froze. I met his eyes. What house? Grandpa Vivian's glass slipped, red wine spilling across the tablecloth. The sound it made was small, but it tore through the silence. Arthur frowned. "Crescent Hill," he repeated, slower. "I bought it for you last year. You didn't move and know," I said. My voice came out flat. "I never got a key." Charles cleared his throat. "Dad, let's not do this now." Arthur turned toward him, calm but cold. "Do what?" "Exactly!" Vivian tried to laugh, but it cracked halfway out. "Arthur, you must have mixed up the paperwork." "Charles and I," Arthur interrupted, his tone steel under silk. "Mixed up, I signed the transfer myself." He turned to me. "Eliza, I wired the funds through your father's account. He promised to manage the deed." My father's voice rose. "Dad, enough! We'll discuss this privately." Arthur's expression hardened. "We are discussing it." He stood slowly. The chair scraped against the floor, a sound that silenced even the fire. "Show me the deed," he said. Vivian's eyes glistened. "Arthur, please, it's Christmas Eve." Arthur looked at her steady, unshaken. "All the more reason," he said quietly, "for the truth to sit with us." No one spoke. The clock ticked, somewhere outside. The snow began to fall, soft and relentless, pressing against the windows like it wanted to listen. Arthur did not raise his voice. He did not need to. "Grace," he called, eyes still on my father. The envelope. Grace Holloway appeared in the doorway. Careful, composed. "Yes, Mr. Langley." She crossed the room and placed a thick brown envelope beside his glass. "And Ms. Fielder?" Arthur asked. "She just arrived," Grace said. "You asked me to let you know." Mara Fielder stepped in like a winter draft, cool, contained, a small leather folio in her hands. She nodded to Arthur, then to me. Vivian pulled a napkin across the wine stain as if she could erase it by polishing. "Arthur, must we bring staff into a private family moment, counsel?" Arthur corrected gently. "Not staff." He slid the envelope to Mara. "Read." Mara set out the first page. "Original purchase deed. Buyer Eliza Langley. Recorded 20 months ago." She looked at me. "Not unkind. Congratulations. Or rather, my apologies that you did not receive this." The room contracted. I steadied my hands under the table. Mara set down a second page. "Sale agreement. Seller Charles Langley. Recorded 18 months ago. Funds transferred to Northbridge Holdings. An offshore account." She tapped the footer. "Disbursement completed 2 days after closing." Arthur's face drained. He turned to my father. "You sold my granddaughter's home." Charles leaned back, fingers steepled, voice clipped. "We protected the family. The market was turning. We could not keep assets idle under her name." "My name," I said. The words tasted like metal. Vivian reached a hand toward me that I did not take. "Eliza, you were overwhelmed. You said so. The heating bills, the maintenance. I never had a heating bill for a house I did not know existed." I said. Arthur's gaze did not leave my father. "On what authority did you sell property that did not belong to you?" Charles lifted his chin. "Managerial consent. We handled the paperwork when you were ill last year. It was a stewardship decision." Mara laid out another page, thin and unforgiving. "The so-called consent is not signed by Eliza. Her name is typed, then left blank. There is a courier confirmation addressed to your office. Vivian, the welcome packet intended for Eliza was forwarded to your home." Vivian's voice broke. "We were buying time. For what Arthur asked. Almost tender." "To tell the truth," Charles snapped. "To keep the Langley name intact. There were investors watching. There were boards. One mistake. And decades of work collapse. She is not ready for that pressure." I felt the old sting the word ready like a leash. "Ready for what?" I said. "To own what is mine. Or ready to be owned." Silence rolled through the room. Arthur's hand trembled once. Then it steadied on the table. You wired my money out of our family and into a shell. He said to Charles, You lied to me about my granddaughter. You let me believe she was safe and warm in that house through one spring, one summer, one winter. Vivian began to cry, soft and practiced. Arthur, please. We did not mean harm. Mara placed a final sheet between them. There is also a short-term bridge loan taken against the property before the sale. The borrower name is not Eliza's, but the contact email is her old university address. Someone copied it into the file to create the appearance of her involvement. I swallowed hard. You used my name to make a debt look clean. Charles's voice rose. We repaid that loan. No harm done. Arthur's eyes flashed. Harm was done when you decided that deceit was a form of love. He turned to me, and his face changed anger, softening to sorrow. Eliza, I am sorry. He looked back at them. From this day forward, you do not speak for her again. Charles stood, palms flat on the table. You cannot cut us out over one decision. It was not one decision, Arthur said. It was a season of decisions that bent the truth until it broke. Vivian stepped toward me, mascara shining at the edge of her lashes. Honey, we did it for the family. For you. We kept your name clean. My name, I said. Steady now is what you used when you needed a mask. Mara gathered the documents, aligning the edges with quiet care. I will move to restore title where possible and to demand an accounting. We will also notify the boards of any misstatements that touch fiduciary duties. Charles laughed once. A dry scrape. You would burn the house down. No, Arthur said. I will open the windows. He looked to Grace. Have the car brought around for Ms. Fielder. She and I will speak in the study shortly. Grace nodded and disappeared. Arthur rose. He did not look grand or powerful. He looked clear. You may stay for dessert, he told my parents. Voice flat. Or you may go. Either way, the truth will finish its meal. Vivian wiped the table. Futile. Frantic. Arthur. He lifted a hand. Enough. Then he turned to me, the smallest smile at the corner of his mouth that could not quite find its way. Eliza, would you walk with me to the study? I stood. My knees did not shake. Behind us, the room held its breath, a stage waiting for new lines that would never come. We walked down the hall together, my grandfather's hand steady on the cane he rarely used. The house felt smaller, its silence heavier than the snow pressing against the windows. In the study, he closed the door behind us. Sit, Eliza. I did. My hands still trembled from the dinner. He reached into his vest pocket, pulled out a small velvet pouch, and placed it on the desk between us. Inside was a silver key, the one I'd seen him carry for years. It was meant to be yours, he said quietly. It still is. I stared at it, unable to move. I don't know what to say. You don't have to, he replied. They sold a house. They won't sell what this family stands for. They already did, I said. You just didn't see the receipt. His mouth tightened, but he nodded. You are right. From outside came the muffled sound of voices my parents arguing in the foyer, their words sharp but indistinct. Arthur leaned forward. You are not responsible for their choices. Remember that. I shook my head, but I let them speak for me for too long. He looked at me then, truly looked, the way he did when I was a child trying to hide a mistake. And tonight, you stopped letting them. That matters. A knock interrupted us. It was Grace, standing in the doorway, uncertain. Mr. Langley, they're leaving. Arthur only said, Let them. The door closed again. The quiet returned. I picked up the key, its weight cold in my palm. What happens now? We rebuild, he said. Not the house. The truth. I swallowed hard. You shouldn't have to clean up what they broke. He gave a small, tired smile. That's the cost of loving people who forget what love means. I reached across the desk and covered his hand with mine. For the first time all night, he exhaled a slow, shaking breath that emptied the room of anger. When I finally stood to leave, he said, "Merry Christmas, Eliza." Not to them. "No," he said, eyes soft. "To you. You've earned it." I walked out holding the key, the echo of his words following me down the hall. By sunrise, the house was quiet. I woke to the sound of tires on gravel and looked out the window just in time to see my parents' car curve down the long drive, twin tracks cutting through the snow. They didn't say goodbye. When I walked into the sunroom, Grandpa was already there, sitting by the window with a cup of coffee gone cold. He didn't look up right away. "They left?" I asked. He nodded. "Before dawn." I suppose silence feels easier than apology. I sat across from him, the weight of the night settling between us. I wish it hadn't come to this. He turned the cup in his hands. I gave them too much trust. I thought money could keep us honest. "You believed the best in them," I said. "That's not a mistake." He finally looked at me, eyes tired but clear. "No, but you reminded me what honesty actually looks like." He reached into his jacket, pulled out a white envelope, and slid it across the table. "Mara stayed late. We redid the papers. The house is back in your name. This time, no one can touch it." I stared at it, unable to speak. "Grandpa, I don't even know if I want it anymore." "You don't have to move in," he said gently. "Just know it's waiting, like I'll be whenever you need me." I felt something in my chest ease, something that had been locked for years. "Thank you," I whispered. He smiled faintly. "You've earned a home. Not because I bought it, but because you finally stood your ground." I reached for his hand, and for the first time, he let me hold it without words. Outside, the sun touched the snow, turning it to light. A week later, I drove to Crescent Hill. The streets were quiet, lined with snow-heavy trees. When I reached number 18, the house stood waiting white walls, wide porch, windows bright against the winter sky. I parked and sat for a moment, hands still on the steering wheel. The key rested in my coat pocket, cool against my palm. Grandpa's words echoed, "You've earned a home." When I stepped out, the air bit at my face. My boots crunched over the snow until I reached the porch steps. For the first time in months, I didn't feel small. I slid the key into the lock. It turned easily, like it had been waiting for me. The door opened with a soft click. Inside smelled faintly of cedar and dust. I whispered, "Hello," half to the house, half to myself, in the doorway. I looked back once. The driveway lay empty, no tracks, no shadows following. I exhaled. "Home," I said quietly. The word felt different now, not about walls or deeds, but about finally belonging to my own life. Snow drifted against the steps, soft and endless, and for the first time in years, I felt warm.